Hi, this is Justin and I'm going to take you through setting up Audrey, Aeolus' configuration server on EC2. We're going to be using Aeolus 0.10 running on Fedora 16 and we're going to go through the basic steps for making a config server, setting it up with EC2, then launching a WordPress deployment using it. As a first step, we need to create the Audrey server image in the EC2 environment. To do this, we click on the New Image button, then on the From URL heading, and give it a name that's easy to remember. Then we switch to the Audrey example site on GitHub and copy the URL for the Audrey server image. We paste this back in the Aeolus window, then click the Continue button. Aeolus grabs the image info from the URL and displays it in the browser window. Because it's an example file, there are comments all through it detailing what each part does. There's the Fedora 16 repository, there's an example root password you should change or remove, there's the Aeolus Config Server package, which is what we want here, and some other pieces like a yum update command. After saving it locally, we click on the build and push links to create the image live on the EC2 servers. This push step takes over 10 minutes for me, which I've snipped out of this screencast. When that push is completed, we create a deployable for it using default values and add it to a catalog. When that's done, we launch it. When Aeolus launches it, Aeolus switches to the monitor tab and we wait for it to start up. When it's running, the IP address field gets filled out. Now that the remote instance is running, we need to connect to it as the root user so we can run the config server setup script. We do this by saving the SSH key locally, then tightening up its file permissions with our chmod 400 and connecting to the remote server. So we copy the IP address here into the clipboard, change to terminal window, do a chmod 400 of the server SSH key, and then use SSH as the root user to connect to the remote server. You can see that SSH just does general confirmation stuff as per normal. When that's gone through and we're logged in remotely, we run the Aeolus config server setup script. We just give it default values. It'll take probably 2 or 3 minutes to run through, which again I've compressed time-wise in this screencast. When it's finished, we need to swap back to the Aeolus interface, go to the cloud providers setup for EC2, and then go into the account details area. In here, click on the EC2 account, then click the add button on the config server line. This brings up a screen where we tell Aeolus about the new config server that we've set up. We fill in its public IP address along with the key and secret given to us by the setup run, as you can see here. Once we've copied them across, we also test it, which we'll see in a second, to make sure that things are indeed working correctly. So we click the save button here, then we click the test connection, then we click the test button there. We'll see test successful up in the top left. Now with that done, we've got a fully working and configured config server. So I'll just click through a few tabs here so you can see how things look. As a next step, we need to do a WordPress setup. For that, we'll need a MySQL server image and an Apache server image. Now we'll create them using the same process as before, except it'll be for an Apache and MySQL description file, and we'll use the examples from the Audrey site again. Now it's exactly the same process as last time, so I've sped this section of the screencast up as it doesn't really show anything new. So we're going through the Apache push here at the moment, creating the deployable for it. you can see that we've created the EC2 Apache instance here. Now we're next going to create the MySQL one. So again, give it a name, get the details, copy the remote example from the GitHub site. Now we'll be done here in a second. Details of the MySQL image, build, push, create deployable, add to catalog, done. Now the next thing we need to do is create the WordPress deployable. This is similar to before. We give it a name, and we're going to use the WordPress XML description file from the GitHub repository. So we copy the URL to that and paste it in as we take a look up and down it here. So we copy the URL to that, then paste it in to the Aeolus window after giving it a decent obvious name like EC2 WordPress, and paste. Now once we've created that deployable, if we go into it and take a look, we'll find that Aeolus will warn us that the two images that it needs, it has no idea, they're not valid. We'll need to go and manually insert the correct image IDs for the images we just built in it. So here we're grabbing the EC2 image instance, the image ID that we created before. Then we go into the WordPress deployable and manually update the WordPress deployable with the ones that we created. So here we've added the Apache instance, and that's done, and we need to do the MySQL one next. So we go and change to the MySQL image, grab its UID, copy it, then switch back to the WordPress one, coming through here, edit its XML, and update it with what we just copied. So paste and save. Now you can see that Aeolus is telling us, everything's updated successfully, all the images are valid. So now we launch it. With Aeolus, whenever we've got a multi-instance deployable with variables included, the launch screen will let us change the values if we want. We'll just use the default values, then launch it. So when we launch it, Aeolus switches to the monitor tab, shows us the deployment being launched and the instances it contains. Once we can see the instances are up and running because they've got an address, we'll copy the Apache instance and try and connect to WordPress on that public instance. So using a browser, and there's WordPress all up, running, happy and fine. For that to be up, running and happy and fine, which it is, that means that the MySQL instance and the Apache instance must be talking together, configured together, and be all happy. So this is end-to-end screencast showing the Audrey setup end-to-end and verifying it's all working correctly by using the WordPress examples. So this is a completely valid, working, happy EC2 installation. I hope this screencast has been useful for you. You can follow exactly the same steps here for any of our supported clouds. That's Rev, Overt, and vSphere. If you need more information, come visit us on the Aeolus website at www.aeolusproject.org. Thank you.